What if I told you there was a man so wise that his advice was likened to hearing directly from God himself? A man trusted by kings, revered for his brilliance, and yet, who met a tragic, self-inflicted end. What could bring such a man to ruin? This is the story of Ahithophel, a tale of betrayal, ambition, and a downfall so shocking it resonates even today. Stay with me as we unravel the gripping events of his life and uncover lessons that could transform your own story. Ahithophel was King David's most trusted advisor. David relied on him for years because Ahithophel's advice was always spot on. He had everything: respect, influence, and power. But despite all of that, something inside Ahithophel began to shift, and his story took a dark turn. It all started when Absalom, King David's own son, led a rebellion to take over the kingdom. And here's where things get interesting. Ahithophel, instead of staying loyal to David, switched sides and joined Absalom. Why would a man so close to David betray him? Some say it was because Ahithophel held a personal grudge, while others believe it was pure ambition. Whatever the reason, his decision to turn on David set the stage for his ultimate downfall. Now, imagine this: David, on the run from his own son, finds out that Ahithophel has betrayed him. He's already dealing with the pain of being chased out of his kingdom by Absalom, and now his closest advisor has joined the enemy. David could have been consumed by despair, but instead, he turned to God. In one powerful prayer, David said,
"O Lord, turn Ahithophel's counsel into foolishness."
That prayer set something in motion, something that would ultimately lead to Ahithophel's downfall. Meanwhile, back in Absalom's camp, Ahithophel was wasting no time. He gave Absalom ruthless advice. He told him to publicly humiliate David by taking over his palace and sleeping with his concubines for the whole kingdom to see. It was a shocking move, meant to make it clear that Absalom was now in charge. And it worked. Absalom followed Ahithophel's advice without hesitation. But Ahithophel wasn't done. He had another plan, and this one would end everything. He told Absalom to chase David immediately, while David was still weak and vulnerable. Ahithophel knew that if they attacked right away, David wouldn't stand a chance. It was the perfect strategy. But just as everything seemed to be going according to Ahithophel's plan, something unexpected happened. David's prayer was about to be answered. Another advisor, Hushai, who had secretly remained loyal to David, came forward with a different plan. Hushai told Absalom not to attack right away. He played on Absalom's fears, convincing him that David was too dangerous to confront so soon. Instead, he advised Absalom to gather a bigger army and wait for the right moment. And in that moment of decision, Absalom made a fateful choice. He ignored Ahithophel's advice and listened to Hushai. Can you imagine the tension? Ahithophel, the brilliant strategist, suddenly realized that his advice had been ignored. And here's where things started to spiral out of control for him. Ahithophel wasn't just frustrated, he knew what this meant. He knew that Absalom's delay would give David time to regroup, and when David came back stronger, Ahithophel's betrayal would be exposed. Now, think about this for a second. Ahithophel, the man who was known for his wisdom, couldn't handle being ignored. His pride couldn't take it. Instead of finding another way to support Absalom or adjust his strategy, Ahithophel saw no way out. He went home, put his affairs in order, and ended his own life. How could someone so wise, so powerful, end up in such a tragic situation? The answer lies in his attitude, his bitterness, his pride, and his ambition. These things clouded his judgment and ultimately led to his downfall. Let's pause for a moment. Have you ever felt like your contributions weren't valued? Or found yourself holding on to bitterness because things didn't go your way? Ahithophel's story challenges us to reflect deeply on how we respond to setbacks, rejection, or being overlooked. Instead of letting pride or ambition consume you, take a step back. How can you handle such situations with humility and grace? Leaders, this is also a moment for you to think about your teams or communities. Are you creating an environment where every voice feels heard, or are you unintentionally fostering resentment? If there's one thing we can learn from Ahithophel's story, it's the importance of fostering trust and humility in every relationship. Ahithophels exist in every workplace or community. They are often the most talented, the most respected, and the most influential, but they're also the ones most likely to let pride, ambition, or unresolved grievances fester. You can identify an Ahithophel by watching for these signs. A spirit of dissatisfaction. They often seem frustrated or critical of leadership decisions, even if those decisions are sound. A tendency to hold grudges. They may bring up past grievances or unresolved issues repeatedly. A strong need for recognition. They may become visibly upset when their ideas are ignored or not implemented. Subtle undermining behavior. They may quietly gather support for their own agenda, creating divisions within the team or community. Advice to leaders: preventing followers from becoming Ahithophels. Foster open communication. Ensure that your followers feel heard and valued. Address grievances promptly before they turn into bitterness. Recognize contributions. Regularly acknowledge and celebrate the contributions of your team members, especially those who consistently offer wise counsel. Encourage humility. Promote a culture where ideas are shared freely, but decisions are made collaboratively and without ego. Watch for signs of disengagement. Be proactive in checking in with individuals who seem withdrawn or critical, and provide opportunities for them to re-engage constructively. Ahithophel's story is a powerful reminder of how pride, bitterness, and ambition can lead to a downfall, even for the wisest among us. In the workplace, in communities, and even in personal relationships, these pitfalls are all too common. But we have the power to rise above them. Ask yourself, are there areas in your life where bitterness or pride might be holding you back? Are you fostering an environment that helps others thrive or one that creates resentment? Take a moment to reflect on the lessons from Ahithophel's story and commit to being a force for humility, integrity, and growth. So, who are you in this story? Are you like Ahithophel, letting pride or unresolved issues cloud your judgment? Or are you like David, choosing faith and humility even when betrayed? Reflect on your actions, your motives, and your relationships. Take the lessons from this story and apply them to your own life, making choices that lead to growth, trust, and wisdom. Now, the question is, who are you becoming? An Ahithophel or someone greater? The choice is yours.